Hello, my friends, and welcome to everybody who is new and those getting to watch this weekly forecast. Thanks for being here. We're going to start right off the bat. We have something for the week of, let's get started. Hi, December 23rd through December 29th. That will be in the title. So let's share the screen and just get right to it. There's plenty to talk about. So I want to get that started. Get my face out of the way. Here we are. Actually, no, I think I'll leave my face in. Here's the first aspect I wanted to talk about. And welcome to everybody who is watching. This is a lot of people who are taking advantage of this free rest of 2024, the free weekly forecast. So you can see what it involves, what you get if you join us at tier 3 or tier 4. And to clarify some things here, I do not talk about house placements and I don't talk about the ascendant and midheaven in this type of forecast because I'm reading the energy for each of the days, just like the weatherman. I have more accuracy than the weatherman, just like the weatherman will tell you, what the weather's going to be for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And that way you know what you get to work with. And the more you know about your own astrology and how to apply this to your own chart, you get to work with even more information. And if you always want help with, if ever you want help with that, you can always book a session with me. And yeah, I do have mentoring programs, especially if you're somebody who's been studying astrology and haven't been able to figure out how to put it together. That is my specialty. Teach you how to talk in plain English when it comes to interpreting charts. This is a great place to start as well. You can see my style and you can see how we talk about the astrology, but then how we interpret it into something that people can use every day. So that aside, I have to do this marketing, guys. Numbers have to continue to grow. And if they don't, then we don't either. Starting with Monday, December 23rd, we're in Christmas week at this point. Oh my gosh, I don't know how things are flying by. I do not even feel festive. So I don't know about you, but it just is hard to feel festive. But, I like the lights, so that always gets me in the mood. Today's forecast, this forecast, when I speaking of today, I'm always talking about the chart that's on the screen, because I'll say today, talking about that, just to be clear. And if you're not sure what date I'm talking about, don't forget, just look at that top left-hand corner, gives you the date, time. It's for my latitude and longitude, so you'll adjust for your own time zone. But other than that, let's get started. I know I babbled a little bit here. Right now, I want to talk about Venus and Chiron. So on Monday with the moon in Libra, so we're seeking emotionally, we're looking for a bit of balance and harmony in our lives and through communication more than anything. The moon in an air sign is always about communication. The moon in Libra, which is an air sign, cardinal air, is absolutely about finding that balance in the partners and relationships that are important to you. Today we have the ruler of the sign of Libra is Venus, and Venus is making a connection with Chiron today. And that's at 7:46 p.m. And so let's clear all that out because that's just messy as all. I need to make sure I'm sharing the right screen. I sure am. Terrific. When we have Venus sextile Chiron, the energy of that is it represents a wonderful time for us to heal some old wounds, right? That Chiron in Aries, it's getting ready to go stationary at the end of this forecast. We'll get to that. But Venus sextile Chiron, this just represents an opportunity for some healing, right? A wonderful chance to connect in a very healing and appropriate way. Venus is in Aquarius and Chiron and Aries. Those are masculine signs, if you will, meaning yang. So that means we want to take action. Venus in Aquarius, air sign, I want to talk about something. Chiron and Aries, it's like, what steps can I take to make myself feel better? Right. And if we each ask ourselves, especially if we're dealing with something emotional in regard to a relationship, because that's Venus tends to focus on that, then that is something that we can focus on. So Venus sextile Chiron. wonderful time to communicate and to work through some emotional wounds, if you will, and connect in a really nice way. Gain some wisdom from that Chiron. Chiron is the wounds of the past. It's the wounds that we're working through. So it gives us an opportunity for that meaningful conversation, and that deep connection, being open-hearted and really embracing that. And that's what we really want to get that is what we get when we have that Venus sextile Chiron. Yeah. And the moon in Libra is always focusing on relationships too. Venus in Aquarius is a lot about freedom and independence. And there's a big trine here going on, big grand trine between these three air planets. And so it just shows me that Monday, December 23rd, there's absolutely a nice air of of conversation, communication, hopefully moving through for wherever we need it, right? Wherever we need to have that open conversation. I just want to make sure I am. When I share the screen, I have the charts up, but sometimes it doesn't share the screen. Let's double check, and that's perfect. All right. Next, let's move on to Christmas Eve day. So December 24th. And on this day, we have, depending on where you live, we could have two aspects or just one. Let's talk about Jupiter square Saturn first. And again, if you look at your Llewellyn books, you'll see those aspects in there. And just write a few notes down. When we have Jupiter in Gemini, it's still retrograde. It will be retrograde until in early February. And so we're slowing down our communication. It's just giving us an opportunity to reevaluate what's going on, and how we're communicating, and that information that we receive, the information, what we hear, and what we're putting out there. It slows things down because Jupiter always expands things, and there's always just an overload of information. But while it's retrograde, we're getting to look at the old ways of things not being let go as easily. But that's definitely going to happen. And then here it is, square Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn in Pisces, if it's not being used in a more enlightened way, it can stir up fear. So it could be that here we have a conversation about something that we're feeling limited on because of a fear. We have that opportunity. You'll want to see where these are in your own chart, but generally speaking, really for everybody, this has been retrograde for quite a while, quite a few months now, but it's just the energy of this absolutely is not about initiating new things. It is clearly, in my opinion, I could see this. If you're not an astrologer, it's not clear to you. I will tell you, it represents this Jupiter retrograde squaring Saturn in Pisces. It just represents focusing on things and words and contracts that you need to just dig in deeper to. We're to go slower and to process and make sure things are the way we want them to be. It is not about initiating new processes. Plus, we're in the last quarter, the last week of this month, this lunar phase. So you want to be tying up a lot of loose ends. Jupiter square Saturn. It's a mutable square, so there's a little stress, but not much, just a little bit. We just want to find that balance between taking some practical steps and slowing it down in our heads and our minds so we can process easier. Yeah, that's what that represents. Okay. Next, we have the Sun quincunx Mars. Now, this aspect, if you're on the West Coast of the United States, is at 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve, on the 24th. If you're on the East Coast of the U.S., it's at midnight. So Central Time, it's at 11 p.m. the day on the 24th. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. West Coast, 9 p.m. Okay, on the 24th. Just us here on the East Coast, it is at midnight. So it's Christmas Eve. Santa, he's going to have a little bit of a rough ride. If I was just to be a little bit corny about the whole thing, because it is the Sun quincunx Mars. It's just there's just not it doesn't work well together. These energies are difficult. Let's find the Sun at 3. Mars is retrograde at 3. Mars is retrograding until February 23rd, which means we're internalizing a lot of passions, right? Mars and Leo internalizing things that we're passionate about, taking our time, slowing it down. I can see that for a lot of people, not everybody, of course, but for a lot of people, creative people, people who want to experience life and just really go out there with gusto, are feeling a little bit reined in right now for whatever the various reasons. There's many to choose from, and we each have our own. So, um, the energy between the sun and Capricorn, so focusing on what's logical and practical and grounded, really is at odds with Mars in Leo, who wants to take steps towards things that you define as what you're passionate about and what you desire to do. However, but Mars is retrograde, so it's still internalizing. The quincunx aspect, which this is, some people call it the yin conjunction, but quincunx is an accurate measurement math, so we'll just call it that. It creates a lot of stress because we cannot find the harmony between these 2 points. So if you're feeling stressed Christmas Eve into early Christmas Day, just breathe into it and just, let it be what it is. We have to move through this because it's an uncomfortable aspect. We tend to feel these things before they show up. So that would tell me that we'd be feeling this on the 23rd and all of the 24th. And again, since this happens just at midnight on the 25th, it's over by the time we get sunrise, right, on Christmas Day. There are no other aspects on Christmas Day. That's actually the first day of Hanukkah as well. You guys don't always line up with the Christian Christmas. Very nice. The moon will be in Scorpio starting at 3 in the morning or midnight, depending on where you live. And that can be really deep and intense, but it also can stir up feelings around those we love who are not with us this year, and any of the other very deep rooted family issues and concerns sometimes can come to the surface when the moon is in the sign of Scorpio. So we're letting a lot of things go. If you're feeling things are very tumultuous, wherever you tend to be hanging out for this holiday, maybe don't go, or process what you need to process before you get there. You can do any of those, or you can just really, we don't want to kick the can down the road, but if there's something that needs to come up, it could come up on Christmas in Scorpio, moon in Scorpio. That's an intense period. We tend to be feeling really intense and deep. I know. That's Christmas. Wow, sorry. Ooh, I'm a ball of fun on that one, huh? I'm only reporting what's out here. I didn't order it. I can guarantee you that. Something that we're going to feel from the 20 on Christmas Day and on the 26th, and what's in front of us is the 26th, okay? And it's at just before 6 p.m. Eastern time, and it's the third and final connection between Mercury and Jupiter, because Mercury is still retracing his retrograde steps. And this aspect has happened 3 times ahead before. Let me give you those dates and I'll tell you what it means. The first time was November 17, 2024. The second time, while Mercury was retrograde and Jupiter was retrograde as well, was December 4th. And now here, December 26th. What does this represent? Now that Jupiter's direct, it's moving in the right direction. The energy of this, we've always felt that we feel a bit overblown, but I think we can just really have some really good conversations, some fun conversations, and just enjoy life a little bit. Because this, there's been some toughies going on recently. So this is just, let's make it a nice conversation. Let's have fun. Let's talk things out. I'm glad we're feeling this as well on Christmas Day, as this is an applying aspect. And again, we have the Jupiter square Saturn, but now Mercury is part of this, and we have this T-square, it's called, mutable, because the 3 zodiac signs that are involved, there's only one missing, are all the mutable zodiac signs, meaning there can be a lot of conversation. We can bring a lot of things up. The mutual reception between these two, because they're in each other's zodiac signs. They're both in signs that are called detriment for them. So it just could be that we want to overstate something and we're exaggerating things. But the connection to Saturn grounds it and makes it a little more, just a little more grounded, which that way we don't feel so overwhelmed with too much information. That's what I want us to look at there. Okay. Or something else. Nope, can't think of it. Something blew through my brain real quick and I didn't capture it. All right. So that's what we have with that. So it's a unique situation. Again, I've been, just think of all the information that's been coming at us since November. Yeah. And still not much has changed, even though there's just a lot of overwhelming information coming at us, and not much has changed. That would be the Saturn, the old guard, still trying to hang on to things. It's So what does that mean in your own life? It could be, it's like maybe your career is going through a shift but you still want to hang on to some of the things that really have a lot of meaning to you and feel really solid and secure, because we want that. And then we're back and forth in our brains and our minds thinking it's like, oh, I could do this. This is big. This is exciting. And then Jupiter and Gemini talks talks itself out of itself. And it's just that information that just goes back and forth. It's like the ADD mind, right? ADHD. It's just so hard to make decisions and choices with this type of energy. It'll move along soon. Yeah. All right. The next aspect that we have on December 27th is Mercury square Saturn. So I just did talk about that, but here it is when it's exact. I want to make sure I'm sharing the screen. Yes, I am. Making sure it's still going. Here is the exact aspect between Mercury and Saturn, but this T-square is still in place. That T-square has been going on since the 24th, because Jupiter made a square to Saturn on the 24th. And then Mercury was opposite Jupiter on the 26th. And now Mercury is in the exact square with Saturn, which this is the third time as well. Sorry, I didn't write the dates down. I can't give them to you. But this is the third time that Mercury is square Saturn as well. And so what does that represent? I'm going to grab my notes really quick here. I don't think you could see me. So Mercury square Saturn. What's the additional content here is just about solid communications, fixing any miscommunications we may have had while Mercury was retrograde, right? And his retrograde, let's get the dates, was November 25th to December 15th. So that Mercury retrograde now on this date here in front of us on the 27th, while it is now opposite Jupiter, square Saturn, we have a chance to resolve any misunderstandings and bring this communication, whether it's misinformation or communication skills, just bring everything together so you can understand completely and totally what is going on. Now, the subject matter depends on what you're focusing on. Are you trying to finish some school? Are you trying to make finish or tie up a project for the end of the year? Any of these things, whatever your project is, whatever your focus is, these are the things that you need to hone in on. And we have that capacity when it comes to this aspect. And that is the exact aspect between Mercury and Saturn, as well as it, like I said, still opposite Jupiter. And the moon on this day is straight across the chart from, even at the same time, the moon is opposite Uranus. This happens once a month. It's just like a quick hit. However, it's happening at the same time that we're having this exact T square going on as well. And that tells me that, taking that getting some deep insight, and then having those moments of clarity, those aha moments. It's like brainstorming, right? So we have that opportunity to bring a project, a thought process, something together because of Mercury opposite Jupiter squaring Saturn. That's been going on all week. But on this day, on the chart in front of us, this is December 27, as Mercury and Saturn are exactly square, it's only like 4 minutes later is when these two are opposite each other. So that is insight. And then they make a connection to Venus. Isn't that just terrific? It is terrific, honestly. I'll show you one more time. We have that, and there's that T square, right? Let me get another color. I love doing this. That just means people are coming together. The energies of the certain planets are coming together. Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn. Information, clarifying information overload, and anchoring that in. And then deep research or deep understanding, sudden aha moments, just moments of clarity. And they're not exact, but they're really close. And this T square is with Venus, that Venus in Aquarius, the sense of independence and freedom. And these two are in mutual reception as well. This is fascinating. It just means that while it feels like there's a lot of moving parts, because there is, it's just like your watch, not a digital watch, a real watch that has dials in the back. If you've ever seen all those little dials, everybody's moving in sequence. Some things are moving faster than others, something slower, and it's what keeps those clock hands moving. The pattern of astrology, like you're seeing right now, it looks like a mess, but it is on the screen, hopefully. Let me double check. I'm always nervous that it's not showing up. No, it's not showing up. Here it is. They didn't show up. I am up who I apologize. I've been putting annotations on the screen the whole time and it didn't show up. Let's do it. I had a feeling. Sometimes Zoom is just such a pain in the ass. This is what I was talking about. There you go. So you can see two T squares there, two squares, T squares, half a square. And so that's what I was talking about. Sorry, guys. And so with that being said, we have just this major opportunity to, like all the moving parts that you would see in the back of a watch, if you will, on a clock, whatever, we have these things that are coming together, one thing after another, that just give us a great insight into how things can move forward, and some things will move forward faster or slower. And when we have all these guys just kind of grouping together, three planets, two sets of three planets each, it's just bringing things all together really wonderfully. So we're able to finish up the year with some knowledge and clarity of what we can expect. And this is I just talked about it, but this is the exact square between Venus and Uranus. And when we have these guys, this is just gives us, it's a fixed square. So this one is where there's stress and tension. And, the day before is when we had the moon was over there making that connection. And so there was some stress. There's definitely some tension. Uranus in Taurus is, that rebellious feel of making these changes that have needed to happen for a long time. Uranus has been in Taurus for forever. So this has been going on for quite some time. But with Venus making that square to it, this can feel like if we can get over ourselves or shift into something fresh and new, we need to be open to fresh and new, But what we're working with, besides that aspect, is that we're in the balsamic lunar phase now too. And that means it is really about letting go. So the energy around this, let's just sort of recap this all together for the 27th and the 28th, is what this really does come down to is it's like we're in the balsamic lunar phase. It's about releasing and letting go and being open and aware to what is happening here, the Venus squaring Uranus. I'm making a mess. And so that really just comes down to shaking things up, making sure you are breaking free from these old patterns, these old habits. We need to get beyond these things. Saturn really needs to break, it needs to be broken up a little bit. We just need to be careful that we don't, the need for something fresh and new isn't so dramatic that we mess ourselves up. I was going to say a swear word. You F ourselves up too much if we're not cautious enough. All right. And the last aspect for this one is here is Chiron, and there it is stationary. Now, this whole week, but I just wanted to talk about it now. This whole week, Chiron has been at 19 degrees. And Chiron, that wounded healer, he takes a long time to move through signs. Sometimes it depends on which sign. Sometimes it could be less than a year, and other times it could be a couple years in a sign. This one is taking a little over a year-ish. And point being, Chiron is that wounded healer. It's where we're wounded, where we want to heal, where, we have to be made aware of what that wound is so we can work it and heal it. And when it goes stationary, it is stationary right on 19 degrees. And that stationary process and that 19 degrees of Aries, which is where it's been all week, I think it's been there even longer at 19 degrees. That's where we had the eclipse on April 8th, 2024. For us in the US, you remember? Remember that eclipse? You could see it. I went and saw it with my daughter and my grandson. It was just incredible. And but I want you to look at that. Yeah, Chiron's been at 19 degrees since mid-November. But now it's stationary. It's going to stay at 19 degrees for quite a couple months. And the point is that it's stationary here. So the focus here is like, what were you doing? What were you working on? What did you learn about yourself? Did you discover anything at that new moon solar eclipse in April 8th, 2024? Because if you did, and you could think of that now, I want you to, because this Chiron's been activating that, but the station of it is really activating it. And this is bringing some healing awareness to sharpen your focus around what you were working on back in April. If it was nothing, it was nothing. Don't make anything out of nothing. But the point is like, if something is surfacing while Chiron is stationary, it absolutely will be related to what you were working on and focusing on in April of 2024. Okay. Just gives us that. These things there's cycles and patterns and cycles and patterns. So Sunday, December 29th, as we're getting ready to end the year, that's 2024. I mean, Jesus, it's been quite one. I want you to use this time just to reflect on what healing you've done, what your personal growth may be like. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to do a massive review, but it's good to start this review while the moon is balsamic, while Chiron is stationary. We have a new moon on the 30th. I think it's on the 30th. I have not done that forecast yet. It is. I'll do that soon. I'll get it out before a week. I'll get it out before Christmas. Yeah, December 30th is the new moon in Capricorn. So while we're having Chiron stationary here on December 29 and the balsamic lunar phase, the very end of this lunar phase, look at where the moon is. This position over here just means that the moon acts and feels very intense. It's in Sagittarius, so it definitely has a lot to say, and it can be very, very, what's the word? Playful and fun, gregarious, hyperbolic. It could be all of those things because we got to let things go, right? We got to just let it go, let shit go. And this is a great opportunity to do it. It does not have to be the calendar December 31st for us to let things go because the astrology says we can do it here. And this is the 29th. And then the next day we have the new moon. So great opportunity for that. Okay. That's it for today. Thank you, guys. Please join if you'd like. Come and join. You can go now. You don't have to wait until January 1st to join if you're not a member and you're watching this in one of the free areas that we have available to you. I would like that. I would love your support. It would be very helpful. And yeah, that's what I do. Thank you. Blessings, everybody, and namaste.